I mean, well, let's don't wishy-washy about it. Is the NFL scripted or is it not?
Man, I think they got billions of reasons to have an interest in who's there.
Is the NFL scripted? And I'm going to yell it a little louder because I don't think you heard me. Is the NFL scripted or is it not?
Absolutely. There you go.
Okay. Now that we got that out of the way, so you're a flat earther, NFL scripted.
No,
So we're going all the way that way. All the way with
all the other
conspiracy
conspiracies, but sometimes when you start labeling yourself sports entertainment and there's billions of dollars on the line, I don't believe there's not some people, blowing some wind in the sail to make the boat move, if that makes sense.
Welcome to Big B Daily. No frauds allowed.
What's going on, people? Welcome back to the Big B Daily Show, man. This is your man, Brien Hanley, Big B. Welcome. I appreciate everybody being here. Thank you. We're talking a little NBA stuff today. We're talking Uconn Blue Bloods. And then we're talking a little NBA free agency and NBA title contenders. So we got all that in store for everybody. I appreciate everybody joining. Let's get into this. As always, people, on TikTok, please, if you're in, keep tapping the screen. Give us a follow if you're not already following. We appreciate it. Looking for 5,000 likes and at least 30 new follows. So if you happen to be in here and you're not following, please do us a favor and do that. And also click on the YouTube screen, the YouTube button in the link in my bio. Click on that. Come on over to YouTube and join the live broadcast. Subscribe to Big B Sports Talk. We appreciate it. Thank you, everybody. Let's get into the show. So, first thing is Uconn a blue blood? I think they have to be at this point, don't you? I understand it's more recent and it's recency, and I get all of that. But Uconn as a whole, I think, has got to be considered 5 titles in 25 years. I think you got to be considered a blue blood, don't you? So, yes, my man over on TikTok, Uconn has to be considered a blue blood. The rings, well, I don't know. We're not going to count the Lady Uconn. That's separate. That's separate. But Uconn, as far as men's basketball, 5 titles in 25 years, that's got to put you in that category at this point. So, I think so. I think it's got to put them in that category at this point. I like Uconn. I think they got a really good coach. I think they got a really good team, especially this year. It's going to be interesting down the stretch to see who can challenge them. I like the Big East. I thought it was going to be a challenge on Saturday with Marquette, and Uconn just mopped the floor with them. Man. That game, after 10 minutes, it was no longer competitive. It was terrible. So, my man Pat Cockrell over on YouTube said, I do think Uconn is now a blue blood. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, and it's just, especially if they win another title this year, you have to start now moving them up on the pecking order as far as blue bloods in college basketball. So, that's basically what's going on, man. My man, boss, man, I appreciate it. This is my vacation shades. A buddy of mine told me that I'm on vacation mode. I got my vacation shirt. I got my vacation shades. This is for everybody to get into vacation mode. It's the middle of February. The dog days of winter are coming to an end. Spring is right around the corner. I'm trying to get spring here faster, as fast as possible. I want to get spring here as fast as possible. We all been working hard. We all have sacrificed. We're all on the daily grind. But you know what? It's time for us to enjoy some stuff. Let's get some springtime here. Enough of this winter nonsense. Enough of this winter nonsense. So my man Redneck Patriot is ready for baseball. I don't know if I'm ready for baseball yet. The only reason I say that is because I'm a Mets fan. And when you're a Mets fan, it's tough. It is tough, man. Life is tough as a Mets fan. Lord have mercy. So I don't know if I'm ready for that yet. Matter of fact, I'm positive I'm not ready for that yet. So, but yeah, man, Uconn, I think Uconn's got to be considered a blue blood. And we can break them down. Now, here's one, and I know that IU fans are going to be mad at me, is do we still consider Indiana a blue blood? Do we still consider UCLA a blue blood? Those are questions. I got questions. And the reason I say, look, Indiana was great, but when was the last time Indiana was relevant? Like really relevant. I don't think Georgetown's a blue blood. No. Georgetown was good in the 80s, but that was it. Yeah, Georgetown's not a blue blood. No. Like North Carolina, that's a blue blood. Duke. But I think if you start digging, like Kentucky, as much as I hate Kentucky, Kansas. So, but UCLA, I think they are, but like UCLA and Indiana, aren't they fading? Their blue blood classification, aren't they fading? I mean, UCLA has definitely had more success over the last 10 years than Indiana. I mean, it's not even close. Indiana has fallen so. First of all, Indiana has had so many coaches in the last 10 years. I think they're on their third coach. So it's just interesting. So it just some of these blue bloods, it's like, do you replace an Indiana with a Uconn? Because over the last 25 years, Uconn has had way more success than Indiana could have dreamed about. Now, Indiana as a whole has had more success, of course. But over the last 30 years, which a lot of you aren't even 30 years old, then how in the world are they considered a blue blood still? And somebody down here is, that's cap. You're not even 30, so how would you know? Because anybody that's saying that's cap, they're not 30 years old. You're a child. So, why... Brandon, you got to stop with the Detroit Mercy, my man. Stop with the Detroit Mercy, okay? So, but yeah, man, I'm just wondering what a blue blood would be if Uconn doesn't remove Indiana. Michigan State, I know a lot of people say Michigan State is a blue blood, but are they really? Or do we give them more credit because Magic went there? Because before Izzo became the coach, how good was Michigan State? I mean, and Izzo's won one title. It's not like he's won 50 titles. He hasn't. So how good was Michigan State, before Magic? I mean, they weren't that good at all. And even after he left, they weren't good. I mean, they were okay with Izzo. So, and Michigan State doesn't reach the Elite Eight every year. Matter of fact, they didn't reach it last year. So, they're a great program. There ain't no question that they're a great program. I'm not going to give them blue blood status, though. No. Nope. And Izzo is an outstanding coach. So, but to try to say that Michigan State, again, that's somebody that hadn't been around this earth long enough to know that Michigan State is not a blue blood. because they think that that college basketball started in 2003. I got news for you. It started a long time before that, my man. Long time before that. So we're trying to keep it serious, people. So talking about St. Mary's and Holy Cross, just stop. I miss old college basketball, somebody says. I don't know. I think college basketball is fine. I know that there's not superstars anymore in college basketball because if you're really good, you go to the NBA because the NBA has decided that if you're 21 and you're not in the NBA, that means you're not any good. Just think about that for a second. If you're 21 years old and you're not in the NBA has decided, hey, you're not any good. So we don't want you. I mean, what other profession are you not eligible to get into when you're 21 years old? That 21 is too old to be new into a profession. I mean, what are we doing? Oh, my goodness. I think it's crazy. I just think it's nuts that 21 is too old to go to the NBA. Or there must be something wrong with you if you haven't reached your basketball peak at 21. I think it's silly. So, NIL affect the NBA G League, yeah. And we'll get into that a little bit later. But yeah, I think the NBA Ignite, I think that's about ready to go bye-bye. Because there's no reason for them to have the NBA to have it anymore. And Adam Silver all but said that this weekend, at his quote-unquote State of the Union for the NBA. There's no reason for them to even have it now that guys can go to and make money on the NIL. So, but we'll see. We'll see. It's crazy. What's going on, Rico? But yeah, it's crazy. But I don't think there's a need for it. They did it to try to help, but it looks like the NCAA kind of helped itself in that matter to try to keep guys around a little longer. Good for them. Good for them. But yeah, the NBA, and I think that's one reason people get tired of it, but we'll get back to that. But let's move on, man. Let's move on. Blue blood, I think Uconn, I think we can close that out by confidently saying that blue bloods, that Uconn is definitely a part of that they are definitely a part of it. I think we can confidently say that. So, as a reminder, man, everybody continue to tap the screen on TikTok. We're live on TikTok. We're live on YouTube. Keep tapping that screen, man. 3,000 likes or 5,000 likes and 30 new follows. And then click on that YouTube link and come on and join and subscribe over on YouTube, man. We appreciate it. And come join the live over there. Lot more going on YouTube. We appreciate it, man. So, my man Austin over on YouTube, he said, IU alum and a fan here. They are falling out of blue blood territory fast. Yeah, man. They are, Austin. They are. And they just got to be able to get it back. Just go on a run. There's no reason IU can't do that. They got the fan support. They got the money. They got the facilities. They have everything to be back. They just haven't found the right coach. And I don't know if Mike Woodson is the guy. I know Mike Woodson can relate. I know he knows basketball, but can he relay the information? That's the thing. It's different being an NBA assistant coach versus being a college head coach. There's a big difference. And I know what Indiana could do with the right coach. But the one thing, Woodson's recruiting his butt off. But we'll see. We'll see. A man asked what has hurt programs like IU and UCLA. Coaching. I think UCLA doesn't have NIL, which is insane that they don't have it, being in Los Angeles and being basically where UCLA is. I mean, it's in Beverly Hills or Westwood. It's right in the middle of Hollywood. I mean, it's not Hollywood, but, Hollywood money. It's right in the middle of all of that. Beautiful campus. I'm not sure what they're doing there. But they got to get started on that, because as much as we don't like it, it's turning into, hey, do you have NIL money for me or do you not? And if you don't, thanks for calling, but I'll take the next call. I think both of them got to start getting on that a little bit more. I use culture, maybe. So Indiana can't relate to the black minorities of today, period. That's a dumb statement. And because, I mean, have you ever even been to IU's campus? They absolutely can relate to them. They have a black head coach. What are we talking about? A black head coach that coached in the NBA. He coached a bunch of 20-year-olds. Of course he can relate to them. But that's the excuse that people want to use. You see what I'm talking about? Man. Whew. And they don't care. You might say that IU fans can't relate and they don't like black kids. If they can win, they don't care what color you are at IU. They don't. They don't. They don't care. So, Michael Jackson is from Gary. Gary, you can say Gary is in Indiana, but that's different. That's different. So, we can say that, but it's totally different. Totally different. So, and somebody is saying their music, food, nightlife, women, community, etc. is not relatable. That could be one of the dumbest statements that I think I've heard on TikTok in a long time. And y'all know how dumb TikTok has statements. But the music and the food, the nightlife, a college nightlife is not relatable somehow to black kids. At this point, I got to stop responding to people that make ignorant statements like that, because first of all, that's somebody who's never been to the campus at Bloomington. That's number one. But number two, we're saying that Indiana's too racist to win. Give me a break. Give me a break. Jiminy Christmas. Anyway, if somebody should be worried about basketball and nightlife, or basketball and grades, not nightlife. I don't necessarily agree with that, because nightlife is part of college. But to try to say that black kids don't relate to that, but somehow they can in Kansas, shut up. Shut up. It's always something, man. It's always something. So let's move on. Let's move on. Franchise tags in the NFL. That opens up today. We talked a little bit about free agency yesterday, but the franchise tag is I don't know. I mean, it's opening up. I hate the franchise tag. Now, look, I had a friend that used the franchise tag to the betterment of himself. Didn't necessarily like it, but you know what? They looked at it as, I'm getting this amount of money for this year. Okay, I'll do it. The next year, okay, you're going to give me the same amount of money or a little bit more money for 1 year. Okay, I'll do it. And then I'm out of there. Some people like it. Some people want the long-term security. Some people are like, you know what? If I get a big raise, I'll take it for this year. I'll bet on myself. I'll bet on myself. So I'm interested. And Zach, we were literally, if you're on YouTube, that's the first picture that pops up on YouTube is Wilkins. I mean, I think the Dolphins got to franchise him, but I think they got to sign him to a deal. I think they just need to get a deal. They may franchise him initially, but I think they got to get to a deal as soon as possible. As soon as possible. So that's what I believe. I think they got to do it. My man Uconn said Burns will probably get the franchise tag, but $23 million is a lot for 1 year. Yeah, it's a lot for him. I am still trying to figure out the Brien Burns thing. And y'all can help me. But why is Brien Burns still considered, and I know he plays on a bad team. I get that. But everybody talks about him like he is like the next Lawrence Taylor. I'm like, this guy gets more pub than anybody, and I just don't see the production. Now, I'm not paying a lot of attention to Carolina, I'll admit. So I may be ignorant to the fact of what I'm not seeing. I try to do as much film study as I can, and I've looked at them, and I just don't see all the production that everybody talks about. We appreciate it, Austin. Thank you, man. I'm just not seeing the big production out of Brian Burns. And Uconn, you are 100% right. $23 million for a year. Ugh. Not for him. That's got to be a guy that gets you 15, 17 sacks. It can't be a guy that gets you 8, 7. It can't be. Or you're killing your franchise. And the reason being is you can pay 3 guys to get you that for that amount of money, for that kind of production. But you can't, I mean, why pay one guy this to get 6 sacks? No, you can pay another guy to get you 6 sacks at way less money. Way less money. So, what's going on, Tim? So, it's sad on what's going on with free agency. Here's the thing, man. These franchise tags can stink, but I think there's going to be some people. For instance, Saquon Barkley. Do the Giants franchise him again? And somebody did ask that question on TikTok. How many times? Technically, it's 2, or I guess technically it's 3, but they never give you that 3rd year. They're never going to do it the 3rd year because it's like an astronomical amount. So nobody's going to do it for the 3rd year. Remember Le'Veon Bell? Le'Veon Bell was in that same category. You talk about somebody who used the franchise to their detriment. Le'Veon Bell was just whew. You talk about bad representation. He had bad representation. Bad representation. And it ended up costing him money. It cost him his career, but it ended up costing him money that he never made back. Never made it back. That's right. He held out, gave up, I think it was $13.5 million, ended up signing for exactly what Pittsburgh was trying to sign him to the year before, where he said no. So he gave up the money, signed for, I think it was like $1 million less guaranteed, and then career just, you talk about falling off a cliff. Oh, my God. I mean, he jumped off a cliff. His career just said, F it, we are finished. So you can use it to your advantage, but you can also use it to your detriment. What does Tampa do with Mike Evans? Do they franchise tag Mike Evans, or do they franchise tag Baker Mayfield? I think you franchise Baker Mayfield because it seems like Tampa has found their quarterback. And if Tampa has found their quarterback, you got to keep him. You got to keep him in the building and try to work out a deal. And I think Mike Evans likes Baker Mayfield. I think he'll stay anyway. I really do. Now, Mike Evans is not going to get $25 million a year, but if he's willing to take 18, say, look, Mike, we love you, but come on, man. We'll give you $18 million, $19 million at the most. They're going to cut Chris Godfrey or Godwin. Maybe not cut him, but they're going to restructure his deal because there ain't no way in the world they're paying him no $20 million no more. He got over for 3 years on Tampa. That's over with. So at some point, they got to make some changes there, and I think that will be the change that they make. Restructure his deal. They still got to sign Antonio Winfield. The people are talking about franchising him. I'm like, no, just sign him. You don't need to franchise him. Just sign him. So, but we'll find out. I think T. Higgins is another guy that can get franchised by the Bengals. I was under the impression that the Bengals weren't even going to try to keep T. Higgins. They sound like they want to keep him. That they can get Burrow, him, and Jamar Chase all under one deal. That they can make it all work. I don't know how they're going to do it, but if they do, good for them. Now, I think they got to convince T. Higgins that, hey, man, you're not a number 1 receiver. You got to take number 2 receiver money. You are not a number one receiver. If you take number two receiver money, we can make all of this work. But if you demand number one receiver money, you're out of here. Do you do that if you're T. Higgins? Do you say, you know what? I'd rather stay and be the number two like I already am. I'm comfortable. I got an outstanding quarterback. I'm going to get single coverage. And do I take second tier money or second tier or number two wide receiver money? I shouldn't say second tier, but number two wide receiver money. Do I take that? I think he does. I think he does. There's something to be said for that. Guy asking, what should the Raiders draft, or who should the Raiders draft at the quarterback or O-line? I think the Raiders got to get an offensive lineman. I think the Raiders got to get an offensive lineman. They do need a quarterback. I don't know if Aiden O'Connell is the answer, but it's not going to matter who your quarterback is until you fix the offensive line. Not to mention, they'll be able to sign Josh Jacobs back. If Josh Jacobs is willing to stay, they'll be able to sign him back and pay him less money. You know, I think he made $11 million last year. Well, you should be able to get Josh Jacobs back for about $6 to $7 million for a couple of years because his production didn't equal $11 million. It's another guy you bet on yourself or you lost. Just like Austin Eckler bet on himself. Austin Eckler really lost. Woo! Man. He really lost. So that'll be different. That'll be way different. I'm interested to see what's going on with that. So Higgins is not going to go to Kansas City. No. The Chiefs would be foolish to pay him number one wide receiver money too. I just don't know if Higgins is a number one receiver. I mean, we've seen him without Chase. He's better with Chase. And I think if you got Rashee Rice, I don't know. If I were the Chiefs, I'd try to sign Mike Evans before I sign T. Higgins. That's what I would do. That's what I would do. And also, you got to consider the fact, what does Buffalo do? Because I think Stephon Diggs, his days in Buffalo are over. So, my man Austin says the Bengals really need Higgins on the franchise tag. It's one more year they can focus on other positions before they have to sign or draft a wide receiver. I think you're absolutely right, Austin. I think the Bengals just put him on the tag 1 year. It's like $20 million, but they can afford it, and they just move on. And they move on. So, good question from before. Mike DeRuler, are you tagging Madubuike or Queen for the Ravens? Madubuike. And I think that's how you pronounce his name. If I'm butchering it, I'm sure I am. I apologize. But I tag a defensive tackle with 13 and a half sacks before I do a linebacker. And it's not that Patrick Queen isn't good, but I just try to sign Patrick Queen or I let him walk and we go get another linebacker. I'm not saying you can fill his role, but you're more likely to be able to find another linebacker that can play, next to your star linebacker versus finding a defensive tackle. Roquan Smith is the star linebacker for the Ravens. You're more likely to find a guy that can play next to him for less money than you can find a defensive tackle. So I think that's the avenue that you have to go. You got to go that route. So what does Kansas City do with Jones and Snead? I think Kansas City, first of all, Jones, I think, wants to stay. So I don't think, he said he wants to stay. Now, money talks, don't get me wrong. But if he's willing to take a team-friendly deal, and stay in Kansas City, there's something to be said for that. He's comfortable there. He lives there. It's not like he's still not making a lot of money. But if you can get him a 3-year deal where you can guarantee him $70, $80 million over 3 years, I don't know what the numbers would look like. You sign him, but you have to franchise Snead because Snead is the one that will get away. because somebody will overpay for a corner. It's not that they don't overpay for a defensive tackle, but Chris Jones has said that he wants to stay. Snead hasn't said anything, which it sounds like Snead's got a good agent saying, don't open your mouth. Don't say nothing. We will figure this out. And I think you gotta franchise Snead and keep him to stay. And still get a deal done. Don't get me wrong. But you got to have Snead. Not to mention, Snead's really, really good. I mean, he's part of the reason the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. He is one of the reasons the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. The back end of that defense was the best part of that defense, and he was a huge part of that. How he didn't make the Pro Bowl is beyond me. So, is beyond me. McDuffie's a rookie or a second-year guy, so you don't have to sign him to anything. But yeah, Snead is crazy good. Crazy good. Uconn says T. Higgins franchise payment would be $20.7 million. Yeah, I think you just do it. I think you do it. If you're the Bengals, I think you do it. I think you do it. So, yeah, I think that's what you have to do. I think that's what you have to do. So, we're going to move on here, and we'll get back to this in the Q&A section of everything. But again, as a reminder, everybody, please continue to support the show. I love everybody that comes out every day. Thank you, guys. Again, if you're on TikTok, keep tapping the screen. We're looking to get 5,000 likes and at least 30 new follows. So if you are not following, please give us a follow. Share the live. Share it out to people. We want to get as many people in here as possible. And thanks again, Austin. We appreciate you, man, for supporting the show. We love the gifts. Thank you. Anybody doing the same on YouTube, we appreciate that as well, man. Thank everybody. We've been getting some super chats lately. If we can get some more, we love it. Thank you guys for supporting the show, man, on TikTok and on YouTube. We appreciate it. 9 a.m. Central Time, Monday through Friday, we will be here. I got my vacation mode on. I'm in vacation mode today. So I'm trying to bring us some good vibes, some good vacation vibes, people. Trying to get some vacation vibes. So let's move on. All right. Now, the NBA. Look, before anybody says it, yes, the All-Star game was hot garbage. It wasn't even hot garbage. It's hot garbage water. You know, hot garbage water. Oh, hold on a second. We got somebody in the crowd over here on YouTube, TikTok, that says, looking sharp, Big B. You see that? I know you guys think that I'm just this fat black dude up here. Nobody likes him. But we got somebody that thinks I look sharp. See that? Now, people on TikTok, they love the shades, love the shirt. We're trying to get vacation mode. We're trying to get in vacation mode, people. So, oh, my man, in John Q in Southern California, it's been raining. It never rains in Southern California. Oh, but that's what we're looking for. Anyway, back to the NBA. I apologize. So the All-Star game was just hot garbage water. You know, that nasty water when you see a dumpster or you see the dump truck that's taking the garbage truck that's taking your garbage, always leaking that water. That is what the All-Star game was. It was horrific. Just horrific. And that has left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth about the NBA, and as well it should have. They should be ashamed of themselves. But, I mean, it is still the best basketball in the world. That it is. Just got to get them to put a competitive game as far as All-Star weekend. But who do we think are going to be some contenders to win the title? Usually, you know, there's about 6 or 7 teams that you think can win a title. This year, I think there's only 3. With a couple of fringe teams. I think the Celtics are definitely one of them. I don't think the Bucks are one of them. Not the way they're playing. And plus, they got Doc Rivers as a coach. And you got Doc Rivers. you're not winning no title. So I'm not going to say the Bucks. Denver absolutely can win. And who in the hell knew the Los Angeles Clippers? The Clippers. As long as the Clippers can stay healthy, don't we have to consider them one of the top teams, especially the way they've been playing? If they can stay healthy, and that is a big if, because every year it seems like either Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, or both get hurt. But if they can stay healthy, I like their chances. Those are the three teams that I think can win it. Now, OKC got an outside chance, but no playoff experience. It's tough to just go from not making the playoffs to being a title contender in 1 year. Now, they're playing well, but I think they're a fringe. They may be on the outside looking in as far as a contender, but they're playing very good basketball. You can say the same thing about the Timberwolves, but I'm just not a believer in the Timberwolves. They're going to have to show me that they can win in the playoffs first. They're going to have to show me. The Suns, if those guys can stay healthy and get it together, I mean, that's basically what they just got to stay healthy. Beal, Durant, and Booker, if they can stay healthy, whew, I don't know who beats them. You know, Philadelphia's fallen off, and without Embiid, they are a shell of themselves. So they were an outside looking in anyway, in my opinion, as far as being a title contender. But without Embiid, they're nothing. I know a lot of people like the Cavs. And as much as I like Donovan Mitchell, are you a title contender if Donovan Mitchell is your best player? I mean, it's tough to win in the playoffs when your best player is 6'2", outside of Steph Curry. So I don't know. But I do like the way the Cavs have been playing lately. It looks like they've figured it out. The Knicks, again, are an outside looking in team. They got to get healthy first. But if the Knicks can get healthy, they get all their pieces back and healthy, the Knicks, I think, have a shot. Because they would be long, athletic, they can score at all levels. If they can get healthy, and the one person that I think they're really missing that doesn't get talked about enough because he's not a 20-point per game scorer is Mitchell Robinson. So if he comes back, look out. Look out. The Mavs could go on a run. No. The Mavs don't have enough depth. The Mavs have nothing inside. Langley is okay, but the Mavs don't play any defense. So, that's the problem with the Mavs. They're going to have to beat you 140 to 135. And if they're not making a bunch of threes and a bunch of shots, the Mavs aren't beating anybody. So that's the problem with the Mavs. And I like them. They just don't guard anybody, which is kind of the problem with the NBA, is no defense. And that's why people get so fed up, is that they just don't guard enough people. So let's see. What do we got? What do we got over here? My man Uconn over. All I know is you can't count out Jokic and the Nuggets. No, you can't. No, you can't. If people try to, they try to do it. The Nuggets, I believe, are going to end up being there in the end. I just think they are. I just don't think when the game slows down, and it always does in the playoffs, when you got Jokic, what are you going to do? Like, what are you going to do? Like, if it comes down between them and Minnesota, he's going to eat Rudy's lunch. Or them and the Clippers. They have nobody to guard him. Or the Suns. They have nobody to guard him. So it's just difficult. You know, the person that has the best chance doesn't play on a good enough team. And that would be Philadelphia. If Embiid is healthy. If Embiid is healthy, he gives them enough problems because he would be able to dominate Jokic on the offensive end. So you can kind of offset it. But they're not good enough to make the finals, even if Embiid is there. If he's not there, Hell, they're not even a playoff team well, maybe in the East, because the East is a little down. But we'll see. Celtics and Nuggets in the finals. I don't think that's far off. The only problem that I see that the Celtics is, again, it would be somebody that can match their athleticism, but I don't know that anybody can with what they have on the perimeter. I mean, Jason Tatum is an MVP candidate. Whether he wins it or not, he's still he's top 5, top 7 player in the league. I know Jaylen Brown still can't dribble with his left hand, but when people let him go right, he's one of the best players in the NBA. Now, why people let him go right, I don't know. But when they do, he's one of the best players in the NBA. They still got Porzingis, who can still do his thing. Why the Mavs gave up on Porzingis, well, I know why, is because he couldn't get along with Luka. Luka just dominated the ball, and he never got any shine. The Celtics are letting him do his thing. Derek White is way underrated. Drew Holiday. I mean, they got a lot in Boston, man. People thought they were going to fall off after getting rid of Marcus Smart. I didn't think it was a bad trade to begin with. But then when they turned around and got Drew Holiday, I said, oh, they got better. They got a better defender because Holiday is a better defender than Marcus Smart and all his flopping. You know, having all the false hustle that he has to do. And he's way better offensively. They got better. I was like, good for them. Good for them. So somebody said the Kings maybe. The problem with the Kings is when you're talking about a third scorer, you're relying on Harrison Barnes. Is that who you want to rely on as your third scorer? I know people are going to say, well, what about Monk? He's off the bench, and yeah, I guess. I don't know. Harrison Barnes just scares me. Just scares me. So that's all. But if he can figure it out, the Kings got a shot. But again, the Kings don't guard anybody either. They're like they're an upgraded version of the Mavs. They want to beat you 140 to 135. So Orlando Magic, not a chance, not ready yet. Good contender, may be able to upset somebody, but they won't go far in the playoffs. But I like what the Magic are putting together. They finally look like an organization that has some things figured out a little bit. And how often have we been able to say that about them? So, the Magic, for so long, they were always picking high, couldn't figure it out. Well, it looks like they're kind of like the Bengals. You remember when the Bengals were just awful forever? But sooner or later, you can't just continuously miss on top draft picks. Eventually, you're going to get it right. After a while, you will get it right. And it looks like the Magic may have fallen into that category where they've gotten a couple of these picks right. The law of averages just won't allow you to continuously miss. So it seems like they've figured some stuff out. So good for them. Good for them. We're going to move on, man, to Q&A section. So any questions that you guys got for whatever topic, throw them out there. We will bring them up, and we will talk about it. My man Mike the Ruler comes up. Big B, will my Heat, be able to do again what they have done the last few? Some way we turn into a juggernaut in the playoffs. I think it's solely dependent on Jimmy Butler. If Jimmy Butler can turn his season, maybe he's saving himself for the playoffs. But it looked like Jimmy Butler in the playoffs last year had kind of taken a step back. Now, I know he got it back together for a few games, but it looked like Jimmy Butler just kind of like that was it. Still a good player, but not near the same caliber. And if he's not the same caliber, I don't know that the Heat can do it again. I don't know that they can do it again. So, because Jimmy Butler, what hurt him is when Tyler Hero got hurt last year. Broke his hand. That hurt him because Butler needed another guy. And they were getting it from Vincent and Strauss, but they're not the same as Hero. They're not the same. So, but you can't count out Miami, though, because they might, number one, have the best coach in the league. So you can't count them out. That's the only problem that I have with Boston. Joe Mazzulla. Whoo! I know I bag on Doc Rivers for being a bad coach. Joe Mazzulla is a bad coach, too. And I know he's young and he's learning, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, whatever. Not great. Not great. So, my man brings it back to Blue Bloods. Said, talking about Blue Blood college basketball teams, will Gonzaga have to win the championship to be considered? Gonzaga's got a long way to go, man. Gonzaga, you can't just win one title and be considered a Blue Blood. Gonzaga has a history of being a good program over the last 15 years. But before that, what were they? Even when John Stockton was there, they stunk. So Gonzaga's got a long way to go. I love the question, though. I love the question. But, yeah, they got a long way to go. For instance, Baylor has been pretty good the last decade. They got a title. They would have more of a say in being a blue blood than Gonzaga, in my opinion. And maybe I'm wrong, but I think so. And it's not that I don't like Gonzaga, but they have no history. So it's all recent. All recent. And I know the argument somebody is going to come back with, well, Uconn is all recent too, but they got 5 titles, not 1. If we were just talking about Uconn and saying, okay, they got 1 title, they've been really, really good the last 25 years, but they have 1 title, we wouldn't be even bringing them up in the blue blood conversation. But they have 5. That's different. That's different. What about Xavier? No. Speaking of blue bloods, can Indiana figure it out, please? Mike Woodson's got to go. Does Mike Woodson have to go? Or was Indiana just not as good when he got the job than what Indiana fans actually thought? I think that's what it boils down to, is that Indiana fans thought that they were just this close, that they were right on the cusp of being good, and Mike Woodson was going to take them over the top. I don't think that was the case. I think they were much further away than what Indiana fans want to actually believe. And because of that, they're just still not as good. They're getting there. They're getting there. But yeah, that's what I believe, is that, the Archie Miller, they weren't as good as what everybody thought they were. And Mike Woodson is there. What's this, his second year? Third year? I think they'll be okay. Give them another year. And first of all, they're not firing them after this year. They knew any reasonable Indiana fan knew that they were going to take a step back this year. They knew that. But next year, Indiana should be really good. Now, next year, if Indiana isn't good, and when I mean good, I mean competing to win the Big Ten title, being ranked in the top 15 all year, having a chance to get to the Final Four. If Indiana doesn't do that, then yes, you can start talking about getting rid of Mike Woodson, because then at that point, it's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? So this might be a stretch, but Villanova, if Jay Wright was still there, I'd say yes. If Jay Wright was still at Villanova, you could possibly be talking of, first of all, because I think they'd be better, but you could possibly be talking about putting them in the blue blood category. Although their history isn't great. I know they won that 1 title in 85, and they were decent, but until Jay Wright got there, Villanova was kind of floundering. So, yeah, no. And also, here's a question about blue bloods. Can they change over time? Can these people be replaced? So, question, do you keep Fields or draft Williams? I've been on record where I think they should keep Fields and solve other issues, but it doesn't sound like Chicago's going to do that. I would keep Fields if I'm Chicago. So, but it doesn't sound like they're going to do it, but who knows? We don't know. They haven't even had the combine yet, so we don't know what's going to happen. Does Purdue make it to the Final Four? No. Until Purdue proves that they can beat a team with athletic wings in the tournament, I'm not a believer. I'm not a believer. That's going to make my man Austin happy at being an IU guy. But yeah, until Purdue proves that they can beat a team in the tournament that's got athletic wings, I'm not a believer in Purdue. So let's see. Austin, for the person earlier that said IU was too racist to win, Alabama wouldn't have a football program if that was the case. You're 1,000% correct, Austin. And just for anybody that came in here, that we had an idiot on TikTok that said the University of Indiana was too racist because they didn't relate to black kids, the nightlife, the food, none of that related to black kids. Okay. If that's what you believe, but they can somehow find a way to relate to them in Alabama, Texas, Florida, Kansas. But in Indiana, nope. And just, you all know me. If something is stupid and something is racist, I will 1,000,000% say so. But when it isn't, I'm going to go the exact opposite and call you an idiot. And that person was an absolute idiot. So it's crazy to me that people will, whatever. I don't even want to get into it because it only makes me mad. So Purdue got whipped by my Buckeyes, who just fired their coach. I don't know if they got whipped. I mean, they lost on the road, conference game. And you're right. Ohio State just fired their coach. I thought he was doing decent, but yeah, Ohio State wasn't good this year. So what do I think about Russell Wilson to the Steelers rumor? We talked about what the Steelers needed to do yesterday. And here's my thoughts on Russell Wilson. I like Russell Wilson. I'm just not sure he can play anymore. And somebody pointed out yesterday that, basically from the game that they got destroyed by the Dolphins till pretty much the last game that he started, Russell Wilson played a hell of a lot better. And that's true. He did. He played a hell of a lot better. But is that good enough still? I don't know. If Russell Wilson can play like that, I will take him in Pittsburgh. I would absolutely take him in Pittsburgh. But if not, then no. No. If he's going to play like he did the year before, then no. No. And my thing is, does Russell Wilson love football anymore? That's the one thing. I mean, he's getting $39 million guaranteed. So he's only going to get $1 million from whoever he's playing with. Is that enough? If he loves football, he'll go out there and ball. If he doesn't, he won't. Are the Steelers in position to take an opportunity, take a chance like that? I don't think they are. I think the Steelers believe they got a roster that can win now. They just need a quarterback to get them there. So that's my whole thing with Russell Wilson. Can he still play? Does he want to still play? Do the Steelers want to take an opportunity on him? It's risky. It's risky. Russell Wilson loves being a celebrity more than football. You might be right. I'm not going to say 100%, but you might be right. Falcons' best quarterback option. Well, the Falcons' best quarterback option is to try to trade for Justin Fields. That's number one. Number two would be to trade up and draft a quarterback. That would be their two options. Number three, Kirk Cousins. Those are the options for the Atlanta Falcons. Probably in that order, unless you want to flip drafting a quarterback and signing Kirk Cousins. Make Kirk Cousins number two and moving up to draft the quarterback number three. And on second thought, that's probably the right order. But that's what the Falcons need to do. The Falcons had a decent quarterback this year. Number one, they win the division. They probably win 3 more games. Why they thought that Ritter was going to be the answer, I don't know. And Arthur Blank looking like an absolute buffoon coming out saying, well, we don't need Lamar Jackson. And after the season, well, we thought we were fine with Ritter. Over Lamar Jackson, you thought that you were fine and thought that Desmond Ritter was going to be a better option at quarterback than Lamar Jackson. This is the reason, people, that owners have to hire football people to make football decisions and then just stay out of it because they don't know what the hell they're talking about. That's what he did. Oh, my God. Whew. And it's just crazy. I mean, think about the successful teams. Think about the Patriots all those years. Robert Kraft stayed out of it. Clark Hunt for the Chiefs stays out of it. You hire the football people to run your football organization. If you don't trust them, don't hire them. Oh. Somebody said Lamar is overrated. Is the MVP overrated? I mean, you can say he can't get done in the clutch. I'll agree. Struggles in the playoffs. I'll agree. But if you win the MVP twice, I'm not sure you're classified as overrated. Just say he chokes in the playoffs. You can say that. But saying he's overrated is stupid. And then I know, well, the playoffs are the only thing that matters. Okay. Just whatever you want to say. MVP is highly overrated. Was it highly overrated when Mahomes won it? Or was it only overrated this year? Something to think about. Because I know that's been the narrative. MVP's overrated doesn't mean anything. But was it last year? Was it the year before? No. So, yeah, all the Lamar can do is run at the uneducated fan. Lamar is like prime Harden. Super fun to watch, MVP, but struggles in big games. There you go, Lando. That would be the correct assessment about Lamar Jackson. That would be the correct assessment. Is right there. Just like Harden. Fun to watch. Great in the regular season. You get to the postseason, he struggles. That is it exactly. And room for improvement. Lamar's just got to get better. You just got to get it done when it matters most. So, just got to get it done when it matters most. And yeah, he's got a lot of time. Creighton beats Uconn today. Is the game in Creighton? Ucon's playing really well, but you're right. Uconn is bound to lose. Creighton's good, number one. But this is a game that if you're thinking Uconn could fall, this would be a game. So. Is it really choking if he loses to arguably a top 3 QB to ever do it? Yeah, if you play bad. I mean, if Patrick Mahomes just flat out, if Lamar played great and Mahomes just played better, then that would be the argument. But when you don't play good, that's a choke job. Because Patrick Mahomes did nothing in that game that said, oh, man, he's just outstanding. The second half, Mahomes did nothing except make the play at the end of the game when he had to make it, which is something Lamar couldn't do. So, yeah, it's a choke job. So, Harden choked against Curry. Same argument. Harden played bad. That's the difference. Again, if Harden played great and Curry was just better, nobody would be saying that Harden chokes in the playoffs. He would just say Curry was better. But that's not what happened. Harden played horrible. And when you play bad and you lose, that's the narrative. That's what people are going to say. Is you just played bad. So, and it is what it is. And I love Lamar. I mean, he went to Louisville. I love him. But he just didn't play well, man. There's nothing you can say. He just did not play well. And it's okay to say that. And you're not hating. He didn't play well, man. He just didn't play well. He got to play better. He's just got to play better. It's just that simple, man. It's just that simple. My man K-Ned said Lamar's passing was a big improvement, but winning AFC as a thrower became more important than just winning. K-Ned hit it right on the head. To Lamar, and it seemed like you just by watching the game, showing everybody that he could throw to win was more important than just going out and winning the game. I said that the day after the game. It was more important. Nobody cares how you win as long as you win. And it seemed like he was dead set on showing everybody how he could win versus just go win. And it's a shame. It's a shame. Yeah. Should have stuck with what just worked. That exactly right. Fell for the narrative. My man, William Keith. What is going on? Now, y'all that are on TikTok, William Keith is a diehard Dallas Cowboy fan. So anybody on TikTok, everybody on YouTube, if y'all want to start giving my man Will Keith some grief about his love for the Cowboys, feel free to do so. Please feel free to do so. That is my man, 100 grand. I'm glad he joined us today. But he is a Cowboy fan. He is a Cowboy fan. So y'all know how I feel about the Cowboys. The vice president of the Dallas Cowboys hater committee. And here it is. Dak is whack. There it is. Will, I'm sorry. I mean, I just, it is what it is, people. Y'all know how it is. Well, first of all, if you've noticed, have y'all seen a Cowboys fan? Now, Will's my boy, so he's going to come in here. But Joe, have you all even seen a Cowboys fan in like the last month? Have you seen one anywhere? Because I haven't seen one. I haven't heard from one. Nothing. It's been silent, which has been great. Hasn't it been great? Oh, yes, I'm a Cowboys fan, says Dallas Beck. Oh, man. Dang it. That's all right. We love Cowboy fans too, man. We just like to give y'all a hard time. It is what it is. It is what it is. April 8th says it felt like LeBron showed his age a bit in the All-Star game. All-Star game just sucked. I think that was part of it. I think that's part of it. The All-Star game just sucked. And LeBron was part of that. Didn't play in the second half. So there it is, Will Keith. Another one over here on YouTube, my man. Dallas fan, my condolences. My condolences. Dallas fans have been quiet, though. A few of them are around, but they've been quiet. So they've been real quiet because as quiet as it's kept, Cowboy fans are nuts. I love the passion, but they're nuts. But this year, they really thought it was their year. You know, in fact, Cowboys fans every year, oh, this is our year. They don't really believe that, though. They don't really believe it. They believed it this year. They absolutely believed it this year. And for that disappointment to hit, as the vice president of the Dallas Cowboys hater committee, that was one of the glorious days of my life to see them just get demolished at home by the Green Bay Packers. Such a great day in my life. I even went to the Star, made a video for you all from the Star. There wasn't nobody there. It was packed early. I went before the game was even over. Nobody there. Sad. Just sad. So we're going to shut this one down for today, man. I appreciate everybody coming out here and checking us out. We love all of you guys. Again, TikTok, we appreciate you. If you're not following, please give us a follow. Also, click on that YouTube link in my bio and come over and join and subscribe on YouTube to Big B Sports Talk. We appreciate you guys. Thanks, everybody, for coming out. We will be back to do it better tomorrow. Aloha.